Welcome to Kathryn Raaker's World. Innovation, culture, adventure, fashion and health, artists, destinations, traditions. This is Kathryn Raaker's World.
Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of Kathryn Raaker's World. Our guest today is Debbie Lee. She's the CEO of America's Mighty Warriors, and she's a Gold Star mom. We're on location in Dallas, Texas for the weekend of Skyball, sponsored by American Airlines and a lot of other sponsors. And we met the other night at the Medal of Honors banquet. I want to welcome you back. And Debbie, you're such a wonderful mom. How long ago, tell us a little bit about what you went through and how your son died. Tell us about that.
A little over 13 years ago, my son was the first Navy SEAL that was killed in Iraq, August 2nd, 2006.
Wow.
And as you can imagine, a day that forever changed our lives. You know, as a parent, that is the most devastating news that you could ever receive.
Right.
And I'm very proud of Mark and the choice that he made to give his life. You know, the day that he died, it was 115, 120 degrees in Ramadi, Iraq. You may remember back in 2006, that's where the majority of our casualties were coming from.
That's right.
And they'd been in an intense firefight for 2 hours. He's one of the main characters portrayed in the movie American Sniper, and it doesn't even give a glimpse into how bad the battle was on the rooftop that day. And there were 4 SEALs that were up there. Mark's buddy Ryan had been severely injured. The bullets had hit his weapon, so he had severe shrapnel injuries to the head.
Oh, God.
And he fell to the ground. 2 of the SEALs quickly dropped to their knees to help Ryan. And Mark could have made that very same choice. But his choice that day was to stand up in the direct line of fire right where Ryan had just been shot.
Wow.
He carried the big gun, the 50 cal. He knew he could lay down some suppressive fire. And his hope was they would be able to get the medic up to the roof to look at Ryan.
Wow.
And they did. The medic got up there and took one look at him and said, "We've got to get him out of here immediately or there's no chance for survival." So not just once, but a second time all by himself. He stood up in the line of fire again to lay down that cover fire so they could get down off of the roof. And they did. They got down, they sent Ryan off for medical attention, and they climbed in their Bradleys and they headed back to the base, which I'm proud to tell you was named Camp Mark Lee in his memory. I had the privilege of visiting Camp Mark Lee in 2007. I'm the first Gold Star mom in history to be in the combat zone where my son was killed.
Wow.
But as they got back to that base, and you know, we've watched our Navy SEALs do some amazing things, and at times they seem superhuman to us.
That's the truth.
But those are my adopted boys. They're as real as you or I are. And when they got back, they figured there was no way that Ryan could survive his injuries. And they were trying to prepare themselves for that news of loss. And they're hot, they're sweaty. They've been fighting for 2 hours in 115 to 120 degree temperature. Mark carried anywhere from 150 to 180 pounds in addition to his own weight.
Wow.
How you do that in those extreme conditions is beyond me. But as they got back to the base, they were ripping their gear off and getting some water to refresh themselves. And the chief came in and said, "We just found 30 of the insurgents that just attacked us." And without hesitation, Mark looked at his chief and he said, "Roger that, let's go get them." They'd done their mission for the other day. The other side of the base, there's a Marine base. They could have called and said, "Get some Marines who are fresh and who haven't been out in battle." But that's not who these warriors are. And so they put their gear back on and they headed back.
He was injured on top of that, right?
Mark wasn't injured yet.
Mark wasn't
Ryan
injured
was
yet.
injured.
Ryan was injured.
And but they were all, you know, exhausted.
Right.
And as they headed back to Ramadi, they cleared several houses, and they went in the last house Mark would be in, cleared the bottom of the house, and they started up the steps, and they heard Mark yell, "On me!" And he was telling them, "I got the lead on this. You guys follow me." And for the last and final time, Mark made the choices. They went up those stairs. They drew fire through a window. And his choice again was to turn into the line of fire. He didn't duck below the wall and let his teammates all, you know, lose their lives. He made the choice to give his life to save his teammates.
Wow.
And I'm so proud of that young man. And through a lot of the programs that we're doing at America's Mighty Warriors, he is still saving his teammates' lives, even though he's not physically here. That young man has made an impact around the world that's unbelievable. And I don't exaggerate when I say millions and millions of lives have been changed by that young man.
Wow. That is such a beautiful story. When did you start the organization?
Officially, I started the organization in 2008, but 7 weeks after Mark died, he lost a teammate on his sister platoon, Mike Mansour, who jumped on a grenade to save his teammates' lives and is a Medal of Honor recipient. But I knew that I needed to be there for that family. I'm still very early, in the grieving process, but I didn't have another Gold Star mother there to walk alongside me in the grieving process. And I knew I wanted to be there. I knew that I could provide a little support. She could say, okay, this woman's 7 weeks out and she survived, because you don't feel like you're going to survive in the beginning. The pain is so bad. And then I would just happen to be in Washington, D.C. when another Navy SEAL was flown in, whose legs were blown off or face was blown off. And that's not just something that when you live in Phoenix, Arizona, you just happen to be in Washington, D.C. So I started to see that God had directed my steps and there was a mission ahead of me, and I started America's Mighty Warriors in 2008 in response to Mark's amazing last letter home.
Well, you have a dream, don't you, on what you want to do for the future.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Sure, I have lots of dreams, but one of the main ones right now, one of the programs through our foundation is called Helping Heroes Heal. Heal. And with our veterans who are struggling with post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury, we're paying for hyperbaric oxygen therapy, hormone and vitamin therapy, natural things that are actually healing the brain, not just masking the symptoms.
Right.
I feel like so many of our veterans are trying different therapies and they're not doing anything. They're going to the VA and they're getting gallon-sized baggies filled with prescription drugs. And it's kind of like, okay, go away, go take those pills, don't bother me anymore.
Right.
And 2/3 of them have a side effect that says may cause suicidal tendency.
No, there are so many suicides that are happening. There's so much PTSD. I work with an organization called Songs and Stories for Soldiers. And anytime you want any of the PSD put you to sleep, these have 100,000 books on them. They're wonderful.
Oh, wow.
It's another organization I work with.
Great.
But I lost a lot of friends in Vietnam. I lost a lot of my friends. One of my dearest friends, her husband killed himself 2 years ago, who was a vet, and he just didn't think there was any hope.
And I think that's part of the problem. My husband committed suicide 25 years ago, so we lived through that. But I think that's one of the things that's equipped me to work with our veterans who are suicidal.
Right.
And that they, will say, you have no idea what I'm going through. I say, well, actually, my husband committed suicide 25 years ago. Then they just open up and they just begin to dump their souls and hearts out to me.
Right.
But it is an epidemic, and it's not just emotional. There are physical things that are going on in their brain.
Right.
And I feel like, we've equipped them, we've trained them, we've sent them into battle. And when they come back home, it's our responsibility to take care of them and try to restore that health that they've given up for us and for the freedoms we enjoy.
And we really need to educate people why the military is so important and what they do for us. And in today's society, unfortunately, that message isn't getting out through the other side of the coin, and we need to do that. Because, I'm lucky we were with the military for 41 years as contractors, and before that, military. So we knew, we lived with it, every day. And it just, is so, my brother committed suicide.
So
it was sad, because a lot of times when they get out of the military, they put them on drugs, or they start on alcohol. It just becomes a crutch for them. And so going to visit people at the VA, I'm lucky enough to belong to the American Legion and as an auxiliary member. And all these different groups really do help. But I think yours is such a wonderful, you're the first Gold Star mom I've ever met.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing. And you live right down the road from my son, which isn't too far,
that's
which
crazy.
is really
that's
cool.
Pretty amazing. But I think your statement that you made about hope, that's why so many of them end up taking their life. And I think it's so important when our veterans get out of the military, they've got to have a purpose.
Right.
They've got to have a mission. They have been connected in a bond, in that brotherhood with those they served with in a unique way that
Right.
can't be replicated in the
Right.
civilian world.
Right.
And so they've got to have that purpose, that mission.
Right.
When they go and try a lot of these alternative therapies, and it's like, okay, this one's going to work.
Right.
And then it doesn't, and then it lets them
Right.
down. And then they do start to think, this is how I'm going to have to live the rest of my life, and I don't want to live that way. So we've got to get the word out that there are things that can be done that will heal their brain.
That's right.
Yes, they still need to work on some of those emotional things, but it'll
Right.
heal their brain. So many of our veterans are not sleeping at night. They've got headaches. If you or I were not sleeping more than 3 hours a night and hadn't done that for 10 years, Lordy be, I know around me, you wouldn't want to be around me. I couldn't remember anything. I'd be agitated. I'd be frustrated.
That's right, and that's what and that's what happens to them, and that's the saddest part of the whole thing is, over the last couple of years, I've met so many veterans that are going through, or their wives that have been going through it as well, or children.
Yes, their families endure that with them.
Right,
Yes.
and they do, and they don't know what to do about it, so there's such great alternative methods out there today. I work with lots of massage therapists, chiropractors. I lived overseas, so there's a lot of alternative medicine that they're using overseas, naturopathic medicine, and new techniques.
Yes.
And it's so important to get that out there. And any way I can do, I'd love to have you on my radio show. I'd love to put you on, you're on our television show right now, but I'd love to introduce you to some of these people and companies that I work with that really care.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
That would be
'Cause
wonderful.
we need to build an army to support those who served.
Right, that's for sure.
I've been out there in the battle. I tell people often, I didn't have any choice the news that was given to me on
Right.
August 2nd, but I did have a choice how I responded.
Right.
My choice was to put on Mark's boots and pick up his weapon and stay in the fight. I'm not firing bullets at anybody. I'm not comparing myself to what our
Right.
veterans do, but it is a fight to make sure they're taken care of. So if we can build that army together
That's
to
great.
fight.
Well, I have something to tell you. I have something to share with you. I belong to an organization that I think I told you about, Veterans in Defense of Liberty,
Yes.
which is starting their first inaugural program for vets. It's free to vets. And the wonderful thing is it costs $35 a year to belong,
Right.
okay? But they have Champions of Liberty, where they have a purpose now, mentally a
Yes,
purpose,
yes.
to either do it through social media or through talking to groups or whatever, television, radio. And they're going to be training them all week long in D.C. We're going to be doing it every 3 months to make battalions to go out and explain what you've been through. Why is the military important? Why am I important to you?
Yes.
Right? And to be able to heal other people. And I
And it's
think
going to be healing for them in the process.
that's
to do
right.
that.
It is, because it's giving them a new purpose in life, right? And also it's going to be educating them in everything. And they're going to have such wonderful speakers. I can't believe it.
That's awesome.
It's so exciting.
That's awesome.
So we definitely want to get you involved in that, because I think that'll help your organization as well, and it'll help the vets.
Awesome.
We'll be right back with Debbie Lee. She is the CEO of America's Mighty Warriors and also a Gold Star mom. We'll be right back.
Around the world, around the clock, in defense of all we hold dear back home, America's Navy.
No more, it's none of my business.
No more, he didn't mean it.
No more, not my problem. No more, she was flirting with him.
No more, she was asking for it.
No more, boys will be boys.
No more, I'll say something next time.
No more bystanding.
No more ignorance.
No more excuses.
No more.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you're beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
We're back on Kathryn Raaker's World, and I'm so honored to have a Gold Star mom who started a wonderful organization called America's Mighty Warriors, Debbie Lee.
Thank you.
And Debbie, I forgot to say we were talking about Champions of Liberty. Mm-hmm. They're reteaching the Constitution and everything that we need to understand why freedom is important and communism is not the way to go.
Yes. And
right?
I think that's so important. We have lost the ability to, we haven't taught our kids what the Constitution really is about. And so we hear things in the media that twist it, and people start to believe that's what our Constitution says or doesn't say. And
That's
so
right.
I think it's so important for every American to know the Constitution, to learn it firsthand. So when someone comes up and tries to tell you this is what the Constitution says, you can say, no, that's not right. That's not what the Constitution says.
And we're not teaching our history, and we're tearing down monuments to soldiers. I mean, I think the hardest one for me to deal with is when they were trying to tear down the Bladenberg Cross. I mean, my organization was the American Legion, and Veterans in Defense of Liberty were the ones that actually helped it stay up. Awesome. Because the next thing they were going to do, Debbie, was they were going to pull down all the crosses in Arlington. Yeah. Can you imagine that?
And I think what's so sad, that's what our nation is about, is the freedom of religion.
That's right.
So, and we were founded on biblical principles.
That's right.
So for us to take that cross away and not give me a right as a Gold Star mother to say this is what I want on my son's headstone because he was a believer,
right?
You know, that is not right. He has a memorial up in San Diego where they tried to take that huge cross down.
Oh wow!
That's been there for decades, and finally. One of the American Legions or somebody bought the property, so now it's private property.
Right.
You can't take it down.
And
so
that's
that cross still stands strong.
And that's the wonderful thing about these organizations like the American Legion or the VFW or any of it that supports veterans. And I'm proud to be a member and love the organizations that we work with, you know, because we're a family. You know, being with the military all those years, they're part of my family. Yes. They're the extended family, correct? Yeah. And, you know, going into the veterans hospitals and meeting some of the people that I've met over the years and working with VA and other places, we need to do a lot more.
We do, yes.
We need to do a lot more. So let's talk about some of your dreams on what you'd like to do with the organization. Tell me about that.
So one of our dreams, our Helping Heroes Heal program, we would like to have a retreat facility that's, you know, somewhere out, you know, in the hills, the mountains, so it's away from a city, but it's a one-stop shop. So, you know, we pay for the hyperbaric and hormone treatments. We would have a chamber there where they could get the treatments. The hormone and vitamin therapy, we'd have a doctor there that could do that. As our program is currently, they get a piece here in Florida and a piece in whatever other part of the country you're located for your treatments. And it's hard on them. It's frustrating for them with their post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury to process things, to have another adjustment. It stresses them. So if we could have a place that's all one place, you'd have equine therapy, you know, other therapies that have proven to be supportive and healing for them. We would put tiny houses there for them and their families. Their whole family could come stay for the 30 days, and they would learn. We would also have them building another tiny house, so we could have several tiny houses with lots of vets getting treatment at a time. They would be learning skills that they could take back home with them if they don't have that mission or purpose that we talked about. Then they would have something, a job that they could do. You know, same thing, raising, you know, doing some gardening of some organic things that are healthy for them. And building that community, but it's all in one place. So they've come for the 30 days. They've gotten the healing that's taken place. They've got some tools to go back into the world and apply what they've got.
Well, I really want to help you with this because I think this is so important. You know, there are so few skilled laborers out there today, plumbers, electricians. I mean, these are the kind of people that we really need for the future, right? Because do you know a poor plumber?
No.
Do you know a poor electrician?
There's actually a shortage on electricians right now.
That's right.
And
there
they're
are.
making over six-figure income. And
We
I think
know.
we have gotten so focused on everybody's going to college, 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 college. And that's not for everybody.
That's right.
A lot of, you know, our youth are going to college and not even using their degrees.
That's
what
right.
a waste of time and money of those years. If they can get a skill or a trade,
I can't even imagine that. You know, and that's one of the things that is my mission is, you know, because you met one of our people, Kevin Kenny, and, you know, we were talking on the phone about how hard it is to find a service person to come or even wait for them if they show up. And you go, there's such a lack of these, you know, in the trades that we really need to start doing this again.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
So, and there's a lot of wonderful people that love to support the military, which I think is so important. And, you know, if we can work together, the nice thing about what I do is I get the message out. And I care. And you know, I'm a mom. I have 3 children, 15 grandchildren, and, you know, my son that lives out by you was in the Air Force. And I have a German granddaughter. I mean, you know, he cares. And I'd love to introduce you to him. He'd love to work with you.
Yes, that would be awesome.
And I think that's important. I think that if you get the right people, there's a place down in Tombstone, actually, that they're building a very unusual, actually they were going to do an equine and wine. They are doing the wine part of it, and they would like to bring in the equine part of it too. They have a lot of land out there. Maybe we should talk to the developer.
Maybe we
what do you think about doing it for the military? I think that would be a good idea. When you were talking, I was just thinking to myself, you know, I work with programs that work with horses, right, in the equine situation. But this program started out as an equine and wine. And what they did was they brought the most famous winemakers from California to start these vineyards in Tombstone. And they have all this land and they're building houses, but why can't they build something there where they could go for a retreat? Why not? Let's ask them. All they can say is no. Right? I think that's a good idea. That's right. So I'll set up an appointment for you.
That would be great. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. And I do know, because I'm still a referral realtor, I do know a lot of projects and stuff that would love to do this. And then there's a place in Colorado where they have, there's a thing called neurointegration. Have you ever heard of it?
It sounds familiar. It's not one that's ringing a
there-
bell that I know well, but it does sound
It works. And she works with PTSD. Her name is Eileen Darden. Her brother was in the military. Her whole family were in the military. She does reflexology and she does neurointegration. But I know the head lady that started neurointegration and the doctor that started it as well. I'm going to send it your way. It really works. And those are the kind of things that you're looking for, right?
Exactly. Those things that are healing the brain, not just masking the symptoms.
Right.
You know, we've got to give these guys hope, and gals.
That's right.
And let them know there are things that you don't have to be like this the rest of your life. We can get your body, we'll never get it back to what it was before they deployed, although I did have one of my veterans that just completed our program the other day, and he did say, I feel better than I did before I deployed. But what they've seen over there, what they've endured while they served, you can't come back that same person. But we can restore their health physically, emotionally, spiritually, as close as we can to before they left.
Right, right. Are you getting a lot of support out of Arizona?
Actually, Texas is my state of biggest support.
Really? That's
yes,
wonderful
we
with the Skyball and,
Yes.
and the whole organization here.
Yeah.
And now having the Medal of Honor winners museum here is going
Yes.
to change
Yes.
everything, isn't it?
Yeah, we do also do retreats for Gold Star families. And
Oh,
we
you
do
do?
those here in Texas. It's
Oh, really?
the facility that Fellowship Church uses for their youth camps.
Okay.
So we're a little more restricted as to when we can have that. But we
Right.
do one retreat that starts Memorial Day that's just for Gold Star families. And then another one around 9/11 that's for our Purple Heart recipients and our Gold Star families combined.
Let me ask you the question. Have you met the gal that is, you see her on the commercials all the time as a Gold Star mom, and she had 7 children and her husband,
From Utah.
yeah.
I have not met her yet, but
Right.
what a story that
She-
woman has.
she-
And he was the mayor in the city
I didn't
where he was at.
recognize,
Yes.
I
And to
remember
have
that.
7 children.
7 kids and not knowing if she was going to be able to make the mortgage.
Yeah.
Does the Gold Star families now have that program where they can get a house if or
There's-
they take over
There's
the house?
other nonprofits that do that. You know, it's on a small scale. It's not like every Gold Star family
Gets that opportunity? Right.
But there are other organizations that are doing that out
Mhm.
there for the widow and for the children, and I think
Wow.
that's important to know that they're taken care of. I was a single mom most of my life.
Right.
I went through a very abusive marriage, my first marriage, and he tried to kill me. And so at the age of 23, I went through a divorce. I had a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old, and found out 2 weeks later after the divorce I was pregnant with my youngest son, with Mark, who gave his life.
Mark,
But
wow.
I can't imagine trying to do 7 kids by yourself. You know, there was no
pretty
child
tough.
support, no support with 3, and
No, she
but
must
we
have been.
survived. We made it. You
You
know,
made
I don't
it.
care what circumstances you're going through, and that's my message to people, is that whether it's health, whether it's your marriage, whether it's grief, you may
You
not have
can
any
do it.
choice, your circumstances, but you do have a choice how you respond, and you can be an overcomer.
And God will bless you.
Yes,
He
has.
blessed
That's
me.
where my strength comes
For
from.
sure. Debbie, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story, for having your organization do what they do. And actually, I would like to invite you to come to Washington, D.C. Because you're a Gold Star mom and because of your organization. I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Scott McGill, and talk to him about what you're doing and get you to be at the March conference.
Great. That would be
which
awesome.
would be absolutely wonderful. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for what you do. And thank you for your service
Thank you.
to the military and to the memory of your son. Would you give your website out really?
Sure. Our website is americasmightywarriors.org.
And do you have a book out there yet?
I'm a contributing author in 3 different books. They can go to our website and get any of those on
Those
our
books.
website. There's several other books that are written by Mark's teammates that are on there. As I mentioned, he was one of the main characters in the movie American Sniper.
Right.
And History Channel also did a documentary on Mark called The Warfighter.
Okay.
Charlie Platoon and Mark Lee's story.
I have to love to have a piece of that, or
Yes.
that, if you wouldn't mind sending
Yes,
me
be
that
glad to.
information.
Be
Thank
glad
you
to.
so very much. And we'll be back next time on Kathryn Raaker's World.